Hello again, everybody. This is Steve coming to you with a new writing tutorial. This one is going to be on politics, lies, and deceit. Now, you're probably going, okay, that got dark real fast. Well, that's the thing, though, is in your books, politics is going to take an important part. It might take a minor part, it might be a fringe item, but there's going to be politics. And the funny thing is, it doesn't have to be governmental politics. There is such a thing as interpersonal politics. When you're dealing with people and interacting with them and stuff, there is a degree of politics going on in the background as you are as you're interacting and you're conversing with people. Now, that's not to say that the politics is going to be bad. It's just that, politics is just part of life. The ones that most people think of is like governmental politics, ambassadors, mayors, governors, things like that. But, like I say, it can go a lot deeper than that. It can go a lot wider than that. But in this case, I think I'm going to stick with just governmental politics because that's the one that's going to be generally the big driving force in your books. If you go into like my Earthfleet saga, we run into a couple of very interesting, lively characters. You run into Fyland. He's hilarious because he's kind of this grumpy old man who's a politician, but then again, when you see everything he has to deal with, you kind of understand why he's kind of permanently grumpy. If I was in his job, I'd be permanently grumpy too. You have the Chancellor Nordham. You have him, and he, and his things that he has to deal with, because he has to deal with the colonies. He has to deal with the Braeburn Society in general. You've got a lot of very brilliant but very egotistical scientists you got to deal with. You got to deal with their families. You got to deal with the community. You got to make sure everything in the society is running correctly. You got to deal with the council. You got to deal with alien ambassadors. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on there, and his primary focus is keeping Earth, soul space, and the society safe and away from harm. And that's part of politics. Politics is just like getting the upper hand on your opponent. Politics is also making sure that the people you love and are concerned for and stuff are well taken care of and protected and stuff. Now the other part of this I mentioned was lies and deceit. I include those simply from the fact that lies and deceit are actually part of politics. I know people say you should never lie. No, never lie, never be deceitful. I agree with that. However, there are times when if you tell the truth, people are going to die. That's all there is to it. And keeping keeping people safe, keeping people protected, keeping yourself and your organization on the upper hand, there's going to be that's going to be in there. Now it's not when you do the kind of the lies and deceit, you want it to be more misdirection. You don't want like outright bold-faced lies and stuff, unless something like that in the book works, where somebody tells an outright bold-faced lie, and it's one of these situations, and I've seen this done in movies and books and stuff where this guy is lying out his butt, and the other side thinks you're you're lying. You're lying. They think you're lying, and they go but they end up going in the direction you want them to go, which is opposite of where they want to go, which is some direction that is harmful to you and the people you're protecting. Generally, though, you want your characters to use not bold-faced lies. Those are kind of the nuclear option. You want something that's going to be subtle. And here's a funny one too. is that I've seen usages of it, and I think I've used it. I'm not deathly sure if I have or not, although I'm pretty sure I've come close to it. But there are situations where a character, politician or somebody in politics, maybe even, like spies and all of that James Bond 007 stuff, which that kind of falls under politics too, because spies and espionage are part of politics, as much as it might not seem like it, because information gathering is a key component to keeping yourself on top of your opponent. The more you know, the more you can, the more you know, the more you can keep them at bay and keep them from doing anything that's harmful to you, your organization, your people, etc., like that. And like I say, I've seen situations where the person didn't lie. They told the flat-out truth, but they did it in a way that the other side's like, they're lying, and they walk away, and they respond to that, not realizing that they were told the truth, but they assumed it was a lie, and they acted on that and ended up losing their butt in the process. So you can have it where your characters do kind of creative truths and half truths, lies, bold-faced lies, and things like that to get the upper hand in a situation. And use it strategically. Don't, like I say, don't just go out there and have them bold-faced lie and stuff like that. Have them use it creatively. Half-truths are really, really useful for a lot of things, because there's just enough truth in there that the other side will look at it and they think it's a whole truth, and not realize that that part of it is truth, part of it is not truth. I mean, if you watch the evening news, they're doing it even there. They're telling part truth, part lie, with a decided end goal of, hey, we want you to think this particular way about a subject rather than what you would actually think if you knew the full truth. And think of it like a gigantic chess game. You're moving your pieces across the board, they're moving their pieces across the board, and you want to position your pieces in a position or in a place on the board that is advantageous to you. Advantageous to you, disadvantageous to the other side. Now, here's another one that's a good one with politics, and I use this in Destiny's Mission, is, lying and deceit are not always necessarily the best way to get what you're after in politics. Sometimes strength or the appearance of strength. Sun Tzu mentions that, and if you want a good one for strategy in politics, go read Sun Tzu's The Art of War. That has got some amazing stuff in there. One of the things that he says that is reiterated a lot in like military academies and stuff is, look weak when you're strong, look strong when you're weak. Basically, it goes back to that deception thing. You're trying to get the enemy to do something that puts you at the advantage and them at the disadvantage. I'm trying to think here. Something else that would be a good one. Oh, yeah, that's what it was. One of the situations that's good in politics, that's a good bargaining chip, is, I've mentioned about like honesty. Honesty's a good one. Use it sparingly, use it carefully, because you can divulge things to the other side that actually gets you in trouble. So use that sparingly, or I should say have your characters use it sparingly. Another one is extending an olive branch. One of the things Mike does in Destiny's Mission is he comes up, while they're in, while these politicians are in there just grilling him, he comes in and he says, yeah, we brought this thing with us that will help you guys. Kind of a bargaining or a bartering chip. It's like, you do item A, or you do item A for us, we'll do item B for you. Which, you don't have to lie and deceit with that one. It's, here's what we have to offer, this is what we would like from you. And that's part of politics too, is just going in there and finding ways to create positive situations for you. Now, you can, in some situations, create a positive situation for yourself and for the other people, and both of you come out the better. Sometimes it'll be a situation where only you come out the better. And now here's another one that's one that a lot of people don't think about, is you can, in certain circumstances, as long as it's not too detrimental, you can actually put yourself at the disadvantage in certain situations to kind of draw the enemy off sides. Well, I call them an enemy, but really they're like an opponent, adversary, whatever. There are situations in politics where you can draw the other side off balance, or offside, so to speak, by temporarily putting yourself at the disadvantage. It's a reversible disadvantage, but it's still a disadvantage. I'm trying to think of a good example of that that I've done in my own writing. Okay, I can't think of any application right off the top of my head where I've used that, but I know one. If you watch the interactions between Six Paws and his boss, I forget his boss's name, but if you look at the interactions between those two, Six Paws has some great lines in there. He has some great diplomacy in how he handles things. Sometimes he has to willingly put himself at the disadvantage to draw the other guy off, because he knows his boss is corrupt. He just can't do anything about it. And but he does periodically put his boss at the disadvantage by putting himself at the disadvantage, like I say, which then draws in the opponent, puts him off balance, and allows you to come back at a later time, strike, and push the advantage back in your direction. So yeah, if you read First Dawn and some of the interactions between Six Paws and his superior, you'll run into some situations like that. There's another one, Patch. That's who it was. When you have Lars and Vlad in Destiny's Mission, they're down in the Den of Knowledge, which is basically a Yandian library. Six Paws meets him, and you see a little bit of kind of politics in the background with that one, because you got Patch and his boss trying to secretly inject information. The idea being they're not connected directly to the information, but the necessary people get the information so that they can act on the information, so that they can put things in motion that the Andeans want to see in motion, but if they put it in motion themselves, it's going to create problems. So they create a pawn, essentially. Then there is I just had it. It was well, like I mentioned before, diplomacy. If you watch the interaction between Six Paws and the two human spies, Lars and Vlad, you watch that when he's down in when they're down in that Yandian library. There's some very interesting stuff that goes on there. That's worth a read. And I'm not sitting here trying to promote my books. I'm just like, this is something that I've done. I know what it is, how it flows. So I'm offering mine as a suggestion. There's other good ones. Well, Ender's Game is a good one. The follow-up Shadow series is a good one. Larry Niven's Ring World is a good one for some of that, because you got interspecies politicking. Well, I got politics flowing pretty heavily in Land of the Lions and in Off-World Chronicles. Let's see, what's another good one that would be a good reference for politicking? Well, C.S. Lewis's Narnia has a little bit of it, because like I say, it's in pretty much every book. I'm just trying to figure out good ones to give you as examples. Currents of Space is a good book for that, because you see a little bit different side of politics. You see it more from the layman's level. Who was it? It was not Arthur C. Clarke. It was Asimov. Asimov and his Foundation series. Kind of a dry read, but if you look deep enough into it, his Foundation series has some great examples of politics, and politics done well. I'm trying to think of another one that would be a good example. It's somebody that's well known. I can't think of anything else right off the top of my head, but if I think of it, I'll mention it in this video. But like I say, politics plays a lot plays into everything that you're going to work with. It might be, like I say, it might be interpersonal relationships. It might be something on a family level, city government, your neighborhood block. It might be the mayor. Like I say, on the city level, state, governmental level, planetary, galactic. Look at Star Wars and just all the politics that are in there. Huge levels of politics. Star Trek has them. Babylon 5 has them. And there's a lot of other ones. Lord of the Rings even has it. You watch some of the politics that go on there, like between the elves and the dwarves, and between men and elves, and men and wizards, and just all kinds of crazy stuff. So, trying to think. I feel like I'm getting done a little too early, considering I normally run to 30 minutes. But I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I could reiterate. With politics, unless you're into something like this on a regular level, on a daily basis, on any kind of reasonable level. That's what. Sorry, it's late, so my brain's not working. But yeah, it's if you're not into politics on any reasonable level, I recommend reading other people and look at how they did their politics. Really kind of deep dive into the story. Don't look at the surface, or don't look at just the surface. Definitely look at the surface, but also dive down deep. What are they saying? What is their body language? And in books, your body language is going to be a little harder to kind of suss out, because you're reading about it, and if the author doesn't really describe what they're doing, what the other person's doing, you can't get that feedback on the body language, but you can if you're like watching a movie or a TV show. Pay attention to the body language, because out of everything you say, 10% is said with words, 90% is said with body language. So, you can get a lot more descriptive and deeper when you're writing a book than you can if you're doing a movie or a TV show. But on the same note, you can get a lot more out of a movie or a TV show as far as things that are visual, like body language and actions and things like that. So, like I say, don't limit yourself to just books when you're researching this. Look into actual history, look into modern era, look into TV shows, movies. Like I say, some of the politics will be subtle, some of them will be in your face. The military is a great place to look for politics, because being prior service myself, there is tons of politics. When I got in there as a naive young 19-year-old, I was shocked at the level of politics that go on inside the military. That puts, there are some, and that's not to say the whole military is politicized, but you watch how the military functions and how the interpersonal relationships and stuff like that go. Washington can't hold a candle to some of that. then again, at the same time, some of what goes on in the military can't hold a candle to Washington or any other, some of these other places. It really depends on what it is and the end result of it and stuff like that. So, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I guess at this point, the best I can say is I've given you the basics. Do a lot of reading on this. I think the only thing I could really circle back on is espionage. Espionage is kind of funny because it can have basically two sides. It's going to be espionage is typically going to be black and white, although there's a lot of gray in the middle because you got people like Loki from what was it? Weaver's Forge. You got him, and he's there as a spy for the Yandians. Loki's there for the benefit of the Yandians, but at the same time, he's pretty easily convinced of the need to help others. So he's a kind of a good guy, but he's also the same kind of guy that when you shake his hand, you want to count your fingers afterwards just to make sure that, he didn't abscond with one of them. And I think Decker is the SIC counterpart, the human counterpart to Loki. It is funny. Decker Decker, is it? Yeah, I think it's Decker. Him and Loki don't get along very well at the beginning, but after a while, they kind of have this mutual respect for each other, which is kind of cool to watch. And he still kind of keeps one eye on Loki the whole time, and Loki the same with him. But the two of them kind of start becoming compatriots, if you will. That they're both in it for the same thing, even though they're in it for different reasons. Trying to think of here. Well, here's another one too with politicking. Is just your typical villains. Your villains are politicking all the way through the story, but they're mostly for they're all me about everything I can get. I want my master plan to be executed, and I want to rule the galaxy, or I want to rule this nation, or I'm the king, I'm the emperor, bow before me, I'm a god. So you've got that whole metric going on. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, look at the courts of kings, queens, and emperors. Everybody from the top dog, who's the king, queen, emperor, whoever it is, all the way down to the guys who are knights. In the scale of royalty, knight is that's like the entry level position. That's guys who are commoners who are given a noble title, but they didn't do anything exceptional enough to get like a baronet or anything like that. So what they'll do is usually like they would be granted a knight status, which comes with land, and they have to prove themselves. And if they prove themselves, then they get bumped in rank to I think it's baronet, and then baron, and then a couple other ranks above that. I'm shooting that off the top of my head because I know it varies a little bit across countries and societies, but I think it goes knight, baronet, and then baron, and that's like the bottom three ranks. But you want to see a place with a lot of politics is the nobility. They are always doing these chess moves and everything. They'll go to a tea party, and it's like watching a grandmaster chess competition. It's that involved. And yeah, I realize politics can be depressing, but it can also be interesting because you can sit there and watch kind of these chess moves and these all of these other, intricacies and the back and forth and the interplay and stuff like this. It's really fun, actually, once you get into it. Because, like I say, it's a little depressing because you have some people that are complete psychopaths, or they are very evil or devious people, or the kind of people you either love to hate them, or you hate them, period, or you revile them, or they're like puke worthy or whatever. But like I say, it's interesting to study it, especially on a creative story level. You could kind of ignore it on the regular real life level, but at the same time, I think you could take a lot of good ideas from that. Because like I've said in previous videos, you want your stories believable. So the closer you can get it to real life, the better of a story you'll get. Which includes, like I say, how people interact with each other, how they relate with each other, how they attack problems, how they negotiate, etc., etc., etc. So, anyways, I got it up to 26 minutes. Yay! Just kidding. I can't think of anything else right now, but I've hopefully given you enough to get you started in researching this. And that's kind of the purpose of all these videos. Is I'm not here to do everything for you. I'm here to get you started, to tell you where to look, to tell you, what to research, how to study, how to learn, and things like that. And this is just one of them among many. And hopefully it's been useful to you. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, etc. like that, feel free to let me know. I'm always up for input, good or bad. So, thanks.